So we give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah in the name of His Son Yahushua HaMashal this day. Bless His God, and let His name be praised, honored, and esteemed always and forever. And John chapter 5 and verse 39, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you, Abba. There is one that accuses you, even Moses, of whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my word? I want you to come over here to 2 Timothy chapter 4, I believe. 2 Timothy chapter 4. Could be 1 Timothy chapter 4. We shall see if I mention the one that I actually desire. You know? It is 2 Timothy chapter 4. I will pick it up at about verse 1, I believe. Second Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. I charge you, therefore, before Elohim and the Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing in his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. Now, of course, Paul is talking to Timothy, who is a preacher. He's letting Timothy know that he need to preach the word. And now you know that instant, in season, out of season. That goes back to the book of Ezekiel when he tell them whether they hear or whether they forbear. To preach the word, whether people want to hear it or whether they don't want to hear it. We can look at the Greek meaning of what's there so you can get the exact definition of what is being conveyed. Because see, sometimes people want to do that. They don't really want to say what the word I'm going to tell you right now. Some people, but that's more so telling people when they don't want to hear it. Now, of course, you have to realize that this man is speaking to someone who is a minister of Elohim. So his statements don't necessarily go along with everyone who would read this. When you look at out of season, unseasonable, or inopportunely, basically at not the most opportune time to speak the word. To be in season would be in a time of opportunity. Let's look at something that necessarily wouldn't be considered to be an opportune time. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Make sure I'm in the right spot of what it is that I require. I don't think that's what I want. That ain't what I want. That ain't what I want. That ain't what I want. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 is not what I want. So we're going to look at something in regard to dropping a word at an inopportune time, if you will. No, I was right the first time. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Well, we'll look at one in season, because Second Chronicles 20 is more speaking the word in season. So let's look at 2 Chronicles 20. It's a something in my head. It'll come back to my mind, the exact location of it being out of season. 20 and 3. 2 Chronicles 20 and 3. Jehoshaphat feared and set himself to seek Yahuwah and proclaim the fast throughout all Yehuda. Yehuda gathered themselves together to ask help of Yahuwah. Even out of all the cities of Yehuda, they came to seek Yahuwah. Jehoshaphat stood in the congregation of Yehuda in Jerusalem in the house of Yahuwah before the new court and said, O Yahuwah Elohim of our fathers, are you not Elohim in heaven, and rule not you over all the kingdoms of the heathen? And in your hand is there not power and might, so that none is able to withstand you? Are you not our Elohim who did drive out the inhabitants of this land before your people, Yasharal, and he gave it to the seed of Abraham, your friend, forever? And they dwelt therein and have built you a sanctuary therein for my name, saying, if when evil come upon us, or as the sword, judgment, or pestilence, or famine, we stand before this house and in your presence, for your name is in this house, and cry unto you our affliction, you will hear and help. Now behold, the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Yasharal invade when they came out of the land of Mizraim, but they turned from them and destroyed them not. Behold, I say how they reward us to come to cast us out of your possession, which you have given us to inherit. O Elohim, will you not judge them? We have no might against this great company that come against us, neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon you. Now, when you sit back and you look at the statement. Again, these are the people, they're in fear. Enemies are coming at them. That's one thing our people don't do. Notice that they said that are not the kingdoms of the heathen in his power. See, we don't acknowledge that at this time, that these people don't really have any power whatsoever. They only have the power that Yahuwah gives them. If we would learn to seek Yahuwah as a collective, as these people did, as they all fasted and came out and gathered together and sought Yahuwah's face as a whole, then maybe he'll make a move. But instead, niggas feel like that they can take these people down off their own volition. And Yahuwah doesn't operate that way, because in reality, he's not going to get the esteem. You're going to give the esteem to each other. We know that's what's going to happen. And that's why he don't let certain things occur. And if we have more understanding of him and his way, then we would notice, and this type of stuff wouldn't bother us. This is another instance why Yahushua said in Luke chapter 18 that men ought to always to pray and not to faint, because that's what they did here. But see, now we live in a time where we feel like, oh, that's weak. You got to put action behind that prayer. And these men did absolutely nothing. They saw Yahuwah, and then Yahuwah heard and hearkened, and then he went ahead and he smashed these people. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, did he use people to smash these people? But we're just going to read the verse and listen to what it says. I'll just let you see for yourself. Notice that they said their eyes were upon Yahuwah, and that's where our eyes need to be. This is why he say, don't let your treasure be on earth, but let your treasure be in heaven. Because where your treasure is, your heart will be also. So the things that you hold most near and dear, that's where your eyes are set. Are your eyes set in heaven, or your eyes set on earth? Are you trying to accomplish something of heaven, or are you trying to accomplish something in the earth, which is of greater importance? Nevertheless, it says, all Yehuda stood, this is verse 13, stood before Yahuwah with their little ones, their wives, and their children. Then upon Jeziel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Benaiah, the son of Jael, the son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Ab, came the Ruach of Yahuwah in the midst of the congregation. And he said, hearken you all, Yehuda, you inhabitants of Jerusalem, and you, King Jehoshaphat, thus saith Yahuwah unto you, be not afraid, nor dismayed by the reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but Elohim. Now, you know what? This is going to tie me back to something else. I'm going to read that last part again. The battle is not yours, but Elohim. The battle don't belong to you. Listen to what he says. Tomorrow go you down against them. Behold, they come up by the cliff of Ziz, and you shall find them at the end of the brook before the wilderness of Yerul, and you shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves and stand you still and see the salvation of Yahuwah with you, O Yehuda Jerusalem. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for Yahuwah will be with you. Now, I don't think our people believe that. In this present juncture of time, I don't think our people believe that. I sincerely believe in my heart that if Yahuwah raised up a prophet and had that prophet stand in the midst of these people and told them that they didn't have to do absolutely nothing, that all they had to do was sit back and watch Yahuwah work, that they would still go out there and try to fight the battle and lose and find themselves dead. Period, point blank. Just don't believe it. I just don't believe that individuals would believe him on a word and chill out. You know what I'm saying? You say, you know what? My daddy say he got it. What I'm stressing for? What I'm worried for? What I need to go down there and do something for? My daddy told me stay to the house. Matter of fact, he didn't even stay to the house. He just said stay still. Let me see the word here for stand you still. Now, this is again an example of speaking a word in season. As a matter of fact, I'll go to another verse for you for that in a moment. Doggone pineapple juice. That coffee just did. Now, of course, stand. Now, when it had a head, it has Amad Ra'ah for stand you still. So that means to take your stand, to endure, and Ra'ah means to see. So endure, and you will see Yahuwah saved, which takes you back to what Yahushua said, that he that endures to the end, the same shall be saved, and that you have to have endurance to run this race. You can't fall out and faint. Nevertheless, so Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground, and all the Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell before Yahuwah, worshiping Yahuwah. And the Levites of the children of the Kohathites and the children of the Korhites stood up to praise Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharah with a loud voice on high. And when they rose early in the morning, went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. As they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Yehuda and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in Yahuwah your Elohim, so you shall be established. Believe his prophets, so you shall prosper. Now let's just look at that. Because this is what he telling Timothy, that he need to preach the word instant, in season, out of season. You have to drop it. But notice the word that he got when he rose up in the morning was for you to believe in Yahuwah. Now, when we look at the word here that's used for believe, it is aman, a word that all of you should be familiar with. And then for so you shall be established is aman again. And to believe his prophets is aman again. For those who are not familiar with the definition of that word, it means to support, to confirm, to be faithful, to be established, to be carried, to be made firm, sure, and lasting, to trust and to believe and to stand firm. Aleph, Mem, and Nun. So, you know, the strength of the Ruach, or you can sit back and look at the strength of the head is eternal life through his Ruach. However you want to look at it. But again, to sit back, the key point is you see that Ruach is contained with that water because of that mean is because that you have to believe in order to prosper. We're going to look at the word prosper in a second. Notice that he said to believe his prophets. When he's telling you to believe his prophets, that ain't nothing but going back to what Yahushua told you. You don't believe the prophet. You believe the person who sent the prophet. That's who you believing on, because all he's doing is bringing the word of the person who sent him. The word prosper here is salak, and it means to advance, to prosper, to progress, to succeed, or to be profitable. You have Sod, Laman, and Kai. Sod, Laman, and Kai. And all it shows you is that the way of the shepherd will separate you. If you believe the word, then the way, which is Yahushua, he could say that the teaching of the way is going to separate you, because this is how you're going to succeed. You cannot succeed without the teachings of the way. You cannot succeed. John chapter 6. And then we'll come back to 2 Chronicles 20 for those who are not familiar how that story concluded. So you can see how that story concluded. John chapter 6 and verse 62. John chapter 6 and verse 62. Dang, the verse that I want is not coming to my head with a location. That's just not what it's looking for. Y'all wait, it'll come to me, man. John 6 and 62. What if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the Ruach that quickened, the flesh profit nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are ruach and they are life. And this is why he says that you should believe in Yahuwah and believe his prophets so that you can succeed. Well, you're going to have to believe that teaching that the shepherd is given for you to walk in that way so that you can be made separate. You can't be made separate if you don't believe the words of separation. Nevertheless, but there are some of you that believe not, for Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. And he said, therefore said I unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Abba. From that time, many of the disciples went back and walked with him no more. So notice that he said that nobody can get to salvation. You can't get to everlasting life, which is the Father himself, unless you go through this man. And the only way that you're going to go through this man is that you have to believe. Let's get to John 13 and 20, just so you can see that for yourself, just for anyone who may not be familiar with his statement. But John 13 and 20. Make it 13 and 19. Excuse me. Shalom, man. It says, now I tell you before it come, that when it come to pass, you may believe that I am he. That's the difference between Yahuwah and everybody else. He tell you stuff before it happens. So when it happens, you know that he's the living Elohim. He said, truly, truly, I say unto you, he that receive whomsoever I send, receive me. And he that receive me, receive him that sent me. This is why Jehoshaphat stood up and the Ruach of Yahuwah came upon him to tell the people this. All you got to do is believe in Yahuwah. He said, believe in Yahuwah, believe in his prophets, and you shall prosper. If you believe the word, then you can get the teachings of the way, which will separate you. See, but again, and we've been harking on that quite a bit the last few weeks. If you don't believe the word, you scarred. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to tell you. Dude, what it is, call himself Chosen of God. He made a little YouTube. He got a little YouTube channel. You know, he had a video, you know, talking about mainly one West Israelites in it, clips of them talking, you know, talking about bone dust and all this other stupid stuff that he be on, that what these dudes be talking about because they feel like they got to come at these dudes and this, that, then the third. But he trashed with the word, you know what I'm saying? It's forth as dispensing it. His intent may not be, I wouldn't say it's wrong, but he do have some things that are questionable, but that's neither here nor there. But the thing that individuals tend to cease to forget, he had a clip of somebody talking, and the dude was talking to some one West Bruce, and he told him the truth. He said, well, if you don't got that Holy Ghost, boy, you're going to hell regardless. And see, those men didn't have and the sad part is those Bruce did not have an answer or a retort for what this, and it was a white man told him this on top of that, because he told him the truth. If you leave here without the Ruach HaKodesh, you're going to hell regardless. You understand that? Why are you going? Because we just went over some of this last week and some a little bit on Wednesday, because that is the covenant of Yahuwah. If you don't have it, then you're not in covenant with Yahuwah. Therefore, you're not entitled to inheritance because he doesn't have an agreement with you. Therefore, he can't show mercy to you because he said he showed mercy to thousands of them who keep his covenant. So if you don't have a Ruach, you're not in covenant with him. That's what we have to understand, especially when we're dealing with stressing the fact on why you need to receive it, because that is the mark and the sign of the covenant. See, there was no mark and sign of the covenant, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Of the first covenant, there was no mark and sign that could show that this person is in covenant with Yahuwah. See, in these days and times, brothers will say it's the fringes, but it was not. That was not the mark and sign of the covenant. That was so you wouldn't be a whore. And we already established on Wednesday that we were whores. So they didn't serve their purpose because you still went a whoring. And you still went after your own heart and your own mind. But now you sit back and you look at it, he said, I'm going to come with something greater, and I'm going to put this in your heart and your mind, and my covenant will actually be in you. So when the Ruach is not present, this is why Paul wrote in Romans 8 that if you don't have the Ruach of Mashiach, you are none of his. And a lot of individuals amongst this people who profess to be Hebrews and profess to be Israelites make the obtaining and the procuring of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, however, the Spirit of Yahuwah, the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, however you want to say it, they make it seem as if it is not a very important matter. It is the most important endeavor that you will ever embark on in your life. because at that particular time, that's when you will be married to your husband. You are not married to your husband until you enter into a covenant with him. If you have not entered into a covenant with him, then you are not married to him. Therefore, if you're not married to him, all the duties that a husband is supposed to expound to his wife, he cannot extend unto you. He can't do it, because then that would cause him to be faulty of his own word, and he's not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the focus on the back end, when it's time to enter into that kingdom and receive that inheritance and go into that marriage chamber. I'm not talking about while you standing here breathing and talking and moving right now. I'm talking about when it's time to go into that marriage chamber. Why you think the other virgins got the door shut on them and they couldn't get in? They didn't have no ruach in them. So how can you get in? You can't get in. And we can sit here and talk about how much we're Israelite and waking people up to that and telling them to keep them laws, and they going to hell. Straight up and down. They're going to go to hell because they ain't got no ruach in them. And that is something that every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth has to consider. But all the other stuff that you worry about and you concerned with, if you don't have the ruach, you don't belong to him. Have you thought about that? Has that entered into your brain? Do you understand how serious of a matter that is? It's the gift of life. To not take hold of the ruach is to say you don't want this gift. Someone trying to give you something, you tell them you don't want it. I don't want that. Why you don't want it? Because you don't believe the person, you don't trust the person who's trying to give it to you. That's why. Nevertheless, back to 2 Chronicles chapter 20. So you can't prosper in that regard. And we have to prosper. We have to succeed as far as salvation is concerned. We talked about this a long time ago when we was dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. Don't let nobody take your crown. Don't let nobody take your crown. Don't let nobody make no fool out of you. I found the other part that I won't speak out of at an inopportune time. Praise you. Come on back to 2 Chronicles chapter 20. And we'll look at it's verse 21. And after that, we'll go to 2 Chronicles chapter 24. It says, and when he consulted with the people and appointed singers unto Yahuwah, that they should praise the beauty of Kadash, as they went out before the army, and to say hallelujah, for his mercy endure forever. And when they began to sing and praise, and to praise Yahuwah, set an ambushments against the children of Ammon and Mount Seir, which will come against Yehudah, and they were smitten. For the children of Ammon and Moab stood against the inhabitants of Mount Seir, utterly to slay and to destroy them. And when they had made inhabitants of Seir, everyone helped to destroy another. And when Yehudah came towards the watchtower in the wilderness, they looked unto the multitude, and behold, there were dead bodies falling to the earth, and none escaped. So what did Yahuwah do? Yahuwah had the enemies of Yasharal fight and kill each other. And Yasharal didn't have to lift up a hand or a finger to do anything. See, that takes us back to this point right here. Come to Ephesians chapter 6. And y'all willing, I'm gonna weave a lot of things into a lot of things. So you have to bear with me and be patient. If I'm moving too fast, don't be hesitant or reticent to let that be known that is moving a little swiftly for your taste. Because we're going to try to put a lot of information in a short amount of time. So, Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. That's what we just seen in 2 Chronicles chapter 20. You need to be strong in Yahuwah and in the power of his might. Listen to the next thing. Put on the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Now, I want y'all to understand what the Greek meaning is for wiles. Continue. Remember that we're holding 2 Timothy chapter 4. We will eventually get to Proverbs 13. We're good in 2 Chronicles 20, and we got 2 Chronicles 24 on deck. So you got 2 Timothy chapter 4 and 2 Chronicles chapter 24. Now, look at the word for wiles. I just want you to ponder upon this for a moment. Because it said, if you put on the whole armor, then you can stand against the wiles. Remember, and for us, wiles is that a mod, which is to endure and to take your stand. See, that's why you can't be wishy-washy. You have to take a stand. And you have to stand for something. So you can't be worried about all this extra stuff, all this other stuff that don't mean nothing. Stuff that's external. That's why we were talking about them fringes, because that's external. You worry about the outside, you need to be worried about the inside, because your inside is what's important. Screw what's on the outside. The outside means nothing because it vanishes away. That which is inside of you is eternal. You got to have enough sense to deal with the word after this point in time to know that. If you worry about the outside, what about your inside? What did he tell the scribes and Pharisees? He said, on outside, you look like beautiful sepulchres, but on the inside, you full of uncleanness and dead men's bones. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're worried about, how we look in the eyesight of men, trying to beautify ourselves when on the inside, we ugly. And as I told you on Wednesday, and I've said many times over the course of years, things come from the inside out. Not from the outside in, it's from the inside out. So you have to deal with what's on the inside first. See, we live in a society that teaches you to mask and cover things up. That's why people walk around with trauma and pain and ain't healed, because you're trying to use things to cover that up instead of just going ahead and revert inward and face what it is and heal from the inside out. But that takes confrontation, and you can't be scared of confrontation. You have to confront what is scary to you in order to overcome it. If not, it will torment you until you take your last breath. Now, the word for wiles is the Greek word methoda. And if you're not aware, it just simply means cunning arts, deceit, craft, or trickery. So you have to understand, if you don't have the word on, you're going to get caught by the trickery or deceit of the devil. Now, remember what it told you. It said that it was the woman who was in transgression because she was deceived, because she had not put on the armor Elohim. This is why she wasn't able to stand against the wiles of the devil, because that's what she said. He beguiled me. Remember, Adam was not beguiled. He just disobeyed, and there is a difference. That's why he told you to be wise as a serpent. You have to understand the wiles of your adversary. If not, he will get you. Because like the book says, he's like a roaring lion. He's seeking whom he may devour. And he's seeking to devour you with deceit, lies, and tricks. This is why maybe 3-4 years ago, we began the process of looking at what the beast would do and how he would try to align with the word as closely as possible to deceive you. This is why you have to preach the word in season and out of season. That's why you have to reprove and rebuke and exhort. And exhort means to warn, to admonish. See, people want to feel all good and feel all great. Now, understand that literally this is your life on the line. It's not a game. You have to be prepared. And if you're not prepared, you're in that day of temptation, you are going to fall. When we were talking about guiding your heart in the way, you have to be straight, narrow path. You have to have tunnel vision. You have to be focused when it comes to your soul. You can't be dilly-dallying and playing around, because it's going to be to your detriment. Now, you can play with it, but that's you. That's you. That's your life. You do what you want to with it. Nevertheless, he said, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what you see in the 2 Chronicles chapter 20. And they didn't wrestle with flesh and blood. They went to Yahuwah. You see the difference? See, we want to fight and wrestle with flesh and blood. Now, Paul also made a statement in another place that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. See, we don't have that understanding, because everything that we do is carnal. So, of course, you're going to want to fight in a carnal fashion, because that's going to be more appealing for you. Because you really want to believe that you can save yourself. The belief in Yahuwah so you can prosper is not present. But let's take a look at Sunday, 2 Chronicles chapter 24. And let's look at a prophet doing that same thing. And he spoke a word at an inopportune time, if you will. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, about verse 15. He said, but Yehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died. 130 years old was he when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings because he had done good in Yasharal, both towards Elohim and towards his house. Now after the death of Yehoiada came the princes of Yehuda and made obeisance to the kings, and the king hearkened unto them. And they left the house of Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers and served groves and idols. Wrath came upon Yehuda and Jerusalem for this, their trespass. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto Yahuwah, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. And the Ruach of Elohim came upon Zechariah the son of Yehoiada the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith Elohim, why transgress you the commandments of Yahuwah, that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken Yahuwah, he have also forsaken you. Now let's take a look at the word transgress, and you should know that it should be the word that means to rebel or to revolt. To rebel or to revolt. And we can't just sit back and look at we rebelling and revolting against what's just in what we would say in the 5 books of Moses. We rebel and revolt against everything the man stands for and every cut and corner. Because remember, commandment is going to mean commandment. It's also going to mean instruction. Now, the word for transgress here is avar. It is to pass over or through or to alienate, to take away or to transgress, to perish, to cease to exist, or to become invalid or make it obsolete. Ayin, Bat, and Raj. So you know the Son of the Highest, but yet you choose to be alienated from it or to make it null and void. That's what they did when he was here. Matter of fact, you could think about that in the parable when he say, you know what? This is the man's heir. Let's kill him and take it for ourselves. Because we don't want to submit to him. We want to alienate him and make him obsolete. I don't care what he has to say. It is no concern to me. And that goes back to something we talked about, I think, on Wednesday too. If you're not familiar with the word for commandment, it's mitzvah, meme, sod, u, and hey. You know, that's those commands. These are your instructions. Why do you continually transgress what I tell you to do? The next thing that happens here is that, and they conspired against him and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of Yahuwah. And Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, Yahuwah look upon it and require it. So when the young man died, he said, you know what? Let Yahuwah look upon my blood and let him require my blood at your hand. Because you niggas don't listen. And that was somebody speaking a word which would be considered to be at an inopportune time. And the word for prosper in that verse is salat, the word that we already mentioned. This is what can happen to you when you speak a word at an inopportune time. No different than the times when Mashal said certain things and they wanted to stone him for it. Because he spoke a word at an inopportune time. This ain't the time that I want to hear this. This is why a lot of people avoid a lot of things when it comes to the word, because they don't want to hear it. This is why some people cut it off, stop reading it, or go to people who they feel like are going to tell them what they want to hear, or just leave the word alone altogether because they don't want to hear it. Let's go back to 2 Timothy chapter 4. I keep trying to tell everybody, I've been telling everybody this for years. I figured this out just by simple common sense and observation. The word ain't for everybody, and y'all need to accept that because it's not. And I ain't even talking about people who ain't in it, who professing to be in it, even people who profess to be in it. It's not for everybody. And it never was. It was, but it ain't. This man told you many are called, few are chosen. Many called to the word. He ain't chose everybody. I don't know why this is hard for people to understand and to grasp. He don't want everybody. Did we not just read in John chapter 6 that it said Yahushua knew those who didn't believe? You think this man don't already know who don't believe in him? You ain't gonna think he already know this? He's still gonna give you an opportunity to receive something that he already know you don't want. And he didn't make you not want it. And if he did make you not want it, praise be to Yahuwah. That's his prerogative. But at the end of the day, niggas don't really be wanting it because they don't believe it. You have to ask yourself, when you heard the word, did you move on because you heard the word, or did you move out of fear? And when I'm talking about fear, I ain't talking about the fear of the honor and reverence for your father. I'm talking about out of fear that you just don't want to get the consequence. Because if you just move it off the aspect of you don't want the consequence, the love that you should have for your father will never develop, because you're not going to do it from the delight of the heart of serving him. You're going to do it because you feel like you don't want to be punished, which means in reality, you don't want to do it. You don't really want to do it. You're doing it because you feel like you're obligated to do it and not because you want to do it. And that is not proper service. Do you know what I'm saying? And when you say that, you should look at that, how you deal with your spouse. If you're a woman, you should serve your husband because you delight to serve him, not because you feel like you're obligated to. Because all he's going to take from that as a man is you don't fool with him like that. Regardless of what you thinking, that's how that man going to read that. She don't fool with me like that. And then guess how he going to look at you? He ain't going to want to fool with you like that because he know you don't fool with him like that. And that's how Yahuwah going to look at you. I don't fool with you like that because you don't fool with me like that. You don't even like doing what makes me happy. I thought you loved me. I loved you. You didn't love me. Have we forgotten that? He loved you. You didn't love him. He loved you first. And you looking at him like, man, I got to do this. I don't want to do this. And he going to be like, well, I don't want to give you my spirit either. So I'm going to want to send you to hell. It's not my desire to send you to hell, but I'm going to send you though. Do you know what I'm saying? And we don't really look at it in that fashion. Nevertheless, verse 2 of 2 Timothy chapter 4. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. But after their own lust, they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. You see it right now as we live. That people will not endure sound, healthy teaching because they don't want to do that. Because I told you before, sound doctrine is boring. It's not delightful. You know what I'm saying? The things to go back and forth and argue about. You know, yesterday, I don't see it as much now on my timeline, but you know, niggas argue all day about Halloween. Oh, it's a satanic holiday. Who cares? What I care. Why am I complaining about what these people do in their land? What I care for. If a bunch of grown people want to play dress up, why does that negatively affect my day? That bothers you, but a nigga around here touching on children don't bother you. These people kidnapping children don't bother you. Your daughter is a whore, and your son is a pillow biter, and that don't bother you. You know what I'm talking about? You kill your people dead in the street. And I ain't even talking about with weapons because you got hate in your heart for your brother without cause. And that don't bother you. But because niggas walking around talking about trick or treat and smell my feet, that bothers you to no end. It bothers you because they singing Christmas carols. So what? What, you mad because you can't participate? That's why it bother you? That junk don't bother me because it ain't got nothing to do with me. They're sinners and they do what sinners do. He said if they be filthy, let them be filthy still. And if they be unjust, let them be unjust still. That ain't got nothing to do with me. The dead are burying the dead. They're doing their thing. So ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not going to bother me in the least bit. I don't get frustrated and mad because somebody say Merry Christmas. This person don't know that I don't celebrate Christmas. This person don't know that I serve Yahuwah. They don't know that. They're going with the custom of the land that they're in. So why would that bother me? Because this person don't know. They don't know how I live. Let me say the Merry Christmas the week. Nigga, you's a fraud. You know what I'm talking about, nigga? That's that cap for them wicked niggas you run with. You just think that we too slow to figure that out. But we know that's what that is. Anybody who serve you, that don't bother them for real. They don't care to participate. If you invite them to something, they're going to politely decline. But you know what I mean? No, I'm not on that. All I hear is Christmas carols everywhere I go. What nigga, what you expect? You've been living in America all your life. Hey, Trina. Yeah, she's a child, so she just gonna shoot. She gonna say what come to mind. You know, you can't be mad at a turn. You know what I'm talking about? Shoot, she worded it just how she's supposed to word it. Shoot, it ain't real, and he is the devil. Shoot, she ain't told him nothing wrong. They just don't expect children to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because they want us to, but I'll get off in a whole nother conversation. I don't want to do that. But they want us just to believe the lies and not be aware to what reality is. See, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, so a lot of people who I know business-wise, you know, they celebrate all these things. And not only that, but they believe the false narratives of history. So it would be certain conversations that I would, if I had to enter into that conversation with them, I would tell them I don't accept the false narratives of history. I don't have any racial bias or this, that, and the third. We deal with facts. Because the reality is reality and truth is the truth. You know what I'm saying? If that's not what the story is, I'm not going to do it. That's just because that's what everybody else is doing. If that's what y'all choose to do, that's y'all business. But I'm not going to be running around like I'm the Grinch of this thing because I just don't care. You know what I'm talking about? Will I take advantage of discounted products on Black Friday if I have the monetary means to do so? Absolutely will, with no shame. I done seen Bruce say, you can't go buy shopping on Black Friday. Watch me, nigga. What you mean? Nigga, that ain't no holiday, nigga. These people use their satanic holiday as a means to get you to spend your money. Because this is where they make their profit at in retail, is this time of year. This is when they hope to get in the black. You know what I'm talking about? When I go buy something the day after Christmas, when they slash discounts on everything, absolutely. If that's what I choose to do. But that's just be bruised who be worrying about the wrong thing. But your heart filthy. You ain't got no ruach, but you worrying about some niggas dressing up in as a hobgoblin or whatever they like to dress up as. You know what I'm saying? You can't castigate people if you in the same condemnation that they're in, and you feel like you're not in that condemnation because you know you an Israelite. Oh no, sir. You ain't got no ruach in you, just like they don't. You in the same boat. You just know a little bit more. Absolutely. That's all it is. It's all it is. We already know it's wrong. You think Yahushua was walking around when the Romans were occupying the land? You think Paul then was walking around talking about, why y'all celebrate this stuff? He didn't care. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm going to preach this gospel to whoever ears it falls in, and it falls into their heart and blooms and blossoms the beauty of Kadash and everlasting life through the Ruach. You know, pray be to Yahuwah. But they weren't walking around focusing on what these people were doing. They already knew these people didn't know no better. Matter of fact, let me finish this right here. And he's saying they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and they shall be turned unto fables. We'll come back to 2 Timothy chapter 4. Come to Acts 17. Since I mentioned that, people weren't worried. They weren't worried about all that, man. We preaching the word. See, you supposed to know that the word of Yahuwah is greater. I bet she was offended. And like I told you, people only get offended because it's truth in it. That teacher know that junk ain't real. She know it ain't real. But all she looking at is why this little girl had to tell me that. Because I've been telling you that kid, it's for the kids. It ain't for the kids. It be just as many grown people dressing up on Halloween as it do churn. People just like to revel. They like to party. They like any excuse to revel. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Now, they may not revel like they did in ancient Rome. You know what I'm talking about? But people just like to revel. It's an excuse for them to party. And it's an excuse for individuals to have one day where they can reach back to their childhood. That's what they really like it for. Is to reach back to their childhood. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to sit back and put childish things away and stand up and be an adult. So they look at this particular day as a day where I don't have to be an adult. I can dress up and be a big kid and have fun and this, that, and the third. And you know what I'm saying? That's unfortunate for her. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it. You know, you got to have a little bit of wisdom and understanding and know that. So she know that's why she was offended. See, a lot of people, it's too much information out here now for people to screen ignorance on a lot of things. They be knowing. The people don't care. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care either. You know, for me, it would be, let me share this information with people. Maybe they'll look at it, see for themselves, and make a decision on their own. Because I already know you can't browbeat people into doing what you want them to do. They're either going to do it or they're not. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. And if people feel like, oh, I know Halloween is such and such day, that's it. You know what I'm saying? But I want to keep on doing it for that very reason. Old memories, being emotional. Thinking about, when I used to put my costume on with my mom and my daddy and we used to go trick-or-treating The family meals at Thanksgiving, and when we open the Christmas gifts, I want to do that with my kid. That's all that stuff is, and that's why they run the commercials that they run and do the things that they do to pull on emotional heartstrings so that you will latch on to that. You know what I'm saying? And that is when you're talking about putting on the armor of Elohim to stand against the wiles of the devil and the trickery and deceit that he uses. Because I've told you before, if you want to deceive someone, all you need to do is play on their emotions. That is the easiest way to deceive anyone, because emotions are is deceitful in and of itself. Your heart is deceitful in and of itself. So if I can play on you to go in your own heart, and I can play on your emotions, then I can get you to do whatever it is that I want you to do. See, people be playing all these games. People are narcissists and deceitful. These niggas dumb. Because that's all you have to do. If you look at people who have deceived mass amounts of people throughout the course of history, they played on their emotions. They played on their emotions. That's all you have to do. If you see someone that's keeping you in an emotional state, I'm not talking about you're in an emotional state. I'm talking about someone is doing things to trigger you, to keep you in an emotional state and have you cycle through a multitude of different emotions. And this person 9 times out of 10 is manipulating you and seeking to deceive you and whatever it is that they're seeking to extract from you. You know what I'm saying? Period. That's what they do in politics. That's what they do in a lot of churches. That's what they do on the news. That's what they do even in sports. They're trying to elicit an emotional response. The thing that you always have to remember about Elohim, your power, your Father in heaven, and your Redeemer, his Son, Yahushua, is that they are Ruachs, and Ruachs are not emotional. They don't move off emotion. Emotion is removed when you're dealing with the living Elohim. There is no emotion involved, because emotions will deceive you every single solitary time. That's why it's a weapon of the adversary. Nevertheless, Acts chapter 17, verse 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hills and said, "You men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For I passed by and beheld your devotions, and I found an altar with this inscription: to the unknown God, whom therefore you ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you." Look at the first thing that he did. He said, you know what? I noticed that you niggas is too superstitious. You got an altar with devotions to the unknown God. He said, I know you don't know what you're doing, so I'm going to tell you about him right now. I'm going to tell you about him right now because I know you don't know. He said, Elohim that made the world and all the things therein, seeing that he is the Lord, the master of heaven and earth, dwell not in temples made with hands. Neither is he worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything, seeing he give to all life, breath, and all things. Notice the key component of what he stated. Y'all want to worship the creation. The creator don't need anything from you. See, he wasn't worried about these people. These people worship idols. He already knew these people don't know. They ain't got no sense. So let me tell them what it is. Now, what they choose to do after I tell them what it is, that's on them. And he gonna be, and you know who Paul gonna be focused on? Those who believe what he said. Nevertheless. And then this time you can sit back and look at him standing up here dropping his word would be out of season because this is not an opportune time, but he was moved to do so. He said he has made of one blood all nations of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined the time before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek Yahuwah, if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live, move, and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of Elohim, we ought not to think that the Elohim head is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's device. In the times of this ignorance, Elohim winked at, but now command all men everywhere to repent. And as we talk about ad nauseum, man, you ain't supposed to keep coming at people over and over again. You're supposed to tell them once, tell them twice, third time reject, and leave them people alone. Yahuwah don't beg. See, that's begging. And that man, I told that make him look weak. As a man, you ain't supposed to be begging no woman. Be with me, please. She's not going to respect you. She's not going to respect you. You know what I'm saying? Period. Because at that point, if Yahuwah is begging you, then he worships you. He worships you. And we know that's not the case. That's no different than the man ain't supposed to worship no vagina. You're not supposed to worship no woman's vagina. You're supposed to worship Yahuwah. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why our men are in that state, because you've been taught to worship a woman. And that's how we treat the living Elohim. That's why it's reversal. That's why when dudes get the word, that's why they be begging people. Because they done brought that simp mentality to move in the word. You can't beg nobody to do nothing. Not if no man, they're not going to respect you. You know what I'm saying? You tell them what it is, and then you have to value yourself and not have the scarcity mindset that if you lose this, that you can't get anything back, and you just have to go on about your business. Well, clearly this wasn't for you. Let me find somebody who it is for. It's just that simple. This is not for you, obviously. Don't beg nobody. Please serve Yahuwah. Please, please. That make him look weak. That make you look weak. Why would anybody want to serve a God who has to beg you to worship him, beg you to honor him, beg you to love him? Every woman on here right now know they don't want to fool with a nigga who would come begging them to love them, begging them to do this here. That's not going to do anything for you. You're going to tell them this nigga got to slide. This nigga's a hoe. See, they put that junk on TV and make you think that's what you're supposed to do. But these women not going to tell y'all that they don't like that. Because it's an ego boost for them. They're not going to tell you in reality, oh, no, I'm not going to fool that nigga after he do it. Yeah, Jody made it, he said, it's been an hour since you've been gone. I'm on my knees begging and crying for you. And these women going to look at you and laugh you dead in your face. Dead in your face. Look at this whole nigga right here. This nigga, she going to get on the phone with her homegirl and laugh and clown by how you were outside on your knees begging for her to come back crying like a little hoe. That's what she going to do. You know what I'm saying? Ask your wife. She'll tell you. You know what I'm talking about? She gonna kick that game. It's sweet. It's romantic. Nigga, that junk's TV, nigga. That's for the movies, nigga. That ain't in real life. Nobody don't like that junk in real life. It's demeaning. You're debasing yourself. You're a man. Have some honor and dignity about yourself. You know what I'm talking about? And that's how you have to do it. You ain't getting on his knees begging nobody to do nothing. You ain't got to do it. You know what I'm talking about? Don't even worry about it. See, a lot of women don't understand that thought. They thinking, oh, he doesn't care about me. No, that's not the case. You didn't care enough to honor my request. So why would I be begging you to get you to do so? You don't even worry about it, because clearly it's not any of your concern. And now I am no longer concerned. But see, men ain't been taught to behave that fashion. Men been stripped of their masculinity. So you think that that's wrong and that's nasty. But that's how a man ought to behave, because that's how your Father in heaven behaves. If you forsake him, he's going to forsake you. If you don't listen to him, then he's not going to listen to you. If you don't want to serve him, then he's not going to serve you. You have to reciprocate with him. Nevertheless, in verse 31, because he hath appointed a day. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that verse. At the times of this ignorance, Elohim winked at, but now command all men everywhere to repent, because he have appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he have ordained. Wherefore he have given assurance unto all men, and that he have raised him from the dead. Notice it say he gave assurance to all men, that he raised Yahushua from the dead. The word doesn't tell you, are you assured? Do you believe that assurance? Are you comforted by it? Because that should be your desire, is to resurrect from the dead. And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, and the others said, we will hear you again of this matter. So Paul departed from among them, howbeit certain men clave unto him and believed, among the which was Dionysius the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris, and others with them. So you notice the difference. Some people believe what he had to say and some didn't. Some people believe what he had to say and some didn't. So you got to ask yourself, which one are you? And this is a word he spoke out of season. That wasn't an opportune time, because he spoke it based off what he was hearing and what he was seeing. He said, let me go ahead and tell these people about Yahuwah, because they bugging out. They bugging out. You know what I'm saying? These people true. Come on back to let's go ahead and get Proverbs 13 right now. Let's go ahead and get to what we're here for. I'm telling you now. See, the women, they ain't gonna comment on here right now, but ask them though. You come around there doing that begging, doing what Martin used to do on this show all the time, and ask them if they gonna respect you if you do it. Because they're not. You'll never win somebody over by demeaning yourself in order to get them to return. The only time that ever happened was with Yahushua suffering. And even then he didn't demean himself. He didn't beg Pilate, please don't kill me. I'm the son of God. Don't he do none of that. They made accusations against him. He said nothing. They spit in his face. He said nothing. They slapped him upside his head. He said nothing. They put thorns on his head. He said nothing. They slapped him in the head with a reed of a rod, and he said nothing. They impaled him on a tree, and he said nothing. He did not beg his father to save him. He didn't beg the people to save him. His trust was in he who judges righteously, and he let him be the hope and the guide, and that is what delivered him. He didn't beg him. He didn't debase himself for deliverance. You've seen the same thing with the 3 young men in the fiery furnace. They did not beg and plead for Nebuchadnezzar not to throw them in there. They told him straight up and down, nah, bro, we can't do that. There's a lot of things we can do, but we can't do that one right there. He said, if Yahuwah save us, Yahuwah be praised. And if not, Yahuwah be praised. But we ain't worshiping an idol, cuz. Ain't no begging. Ain't no begging. I'm trying to tell you, you devalue yourself, you can't do it. People don't respect that. Proverbs 13 and 19. The reason why they don't respect that because they know you don't value yourself. So why should they? You know what I'm saying? These are things that people don't tell. Like I seen somebody post to me the other day. They was like, you know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah, being humble is definitely key the whole time because it do go both ways. You can't beg. You don't beg anybody because I'm telling you, it debases yourself in the eyesight of the person that you're begging. You know what I'm saying? It debases you. The only person who you could beg for mercy for is to Yahuwah, that it wouldn't debase you in his eyesight. But the key difference is he's not a man. So when you come in to beg for him and plead for him for mercy, that's a different situation and circumstance all the way around the board. But he's not going to beg you for you to get his mercy. Because if he did, you wouldn't value him. You wouldn't honor him in the proper fashion because you would feel like he was lesser than. Because you know that you're lesser than him. And he's begging you. Because regardless of what women like to say, they know that the man is greater than them. They know that they're not equal to a man. You know what I'm saying? Irregardless of what the world like to push deep down in their soul and in the recesses of their mind, they know this. So when they see a man carry himself like a little punk hoe, they don't respect him because they know that there's no way in the world that a man should be behaving himself in this fashion. That is not attractive unless she's a masculine, arrogant, proudful, disgustingly vile woman. Then, of course, she's going to suck that up and love it because she wants to have that upper hand over a man because 9 times out of 10, she probably wants to be one. You know what I'm saying? But a woman who is a woman, that doesn't do anything for her. It's not good because she know that this man ain't gonna be able to lead me nowhere because he gonna start crying and falling out like I am. You know what I'm saying? And we done talked about it, and now you're a lesbian. You a lesbian, but you got a man in the house. What type of sense does that make? Proverbs 13 and 19. He said, the desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. It is an abomination to fools to depart from evil. Now we're going to deal with the desire of this accomplished being sweet to the soul, but we talked about that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. So, of course, we're going to rehash something that we dealt with many, many, many moons ago. So let's take a trip to Genesis chapter 32. And don't take this as this means to denigrate women because, you know, a woman is Yah's gift to the man. So the man wouldn't be alone. You know what I'm saying? But please don't mistake that what society has told you, what they want and how they don't believe that crap. Because they don't. Don't believe that because it's nonsense, it's crap. It's going to set you up for failure and disappointment and heartbreak. And you don't want to take yourself through that scenario. You don't want to devalue yourself as a man. You want to maintain your manhood. You never want to lose your manhood for nothing in the world. There's nothing on this earth worth using your manhood for. Nothing. Because once you lose it, you can't get that back in the eyesight of the people who saw you lose it. They won't respect you as a man anymore. And then they can feel like that they can handle you and do you any kind of way. And that's what you don't want. And that's what Yahuwah is not going to allow anyone to do to him. And if we say that we are his sons, then we have to carry ourselves accordingly. And then, of course, you know, if we say we are his sons and you have one of his daughters as your wife, then you know what you're supposed to do with her. You're supposed to cherish her and honor her and nurture her. Things that we've discussed many, many times over the course of time. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to know how the game goes and what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. But you're definitely not supposed to devalue your Elohim and the means of winning somebody to the truth. Look here, man. You tell me, look here, man. Go look up Halloween, my nigga, and see what that is. If that's what you want to do, you know what I mean? That's on you. You want some more information? Cool. If somebody would have come to me like, hey, man, happy Halloween. I don't celebrate Halloween. Why not? I will share with them why. If the conversation goes further, so be it. If they say, oh, okay, cool. I'm not going to be like, I don't celebrate Halloween because it's a pagan holiday and it's satanic. See, I'm not going through all that because that person didn't ask. And how does that bring any esteem to Yahuwah? Why is it the first thing that you want to focus on the time period of telling somebody how wicked something is versus taking that time to tell them how great Yahuwah is? Do you see the stupidity in that thought process? You had an opportunity to win a soul, and instead of talking about Yahuwah, you decided to talk about the history of a pagan holiday. That makes a lot of sense. You could have let off with, I serve the living Elohim, Yahuwah of hosts, in the name of Yahushua. That's why I don't celebrate Halloween. I have done that before, and people say, oh, okay, and kept going. I'm like, I serve God. That's why I don't do it. Not just with Halloween, but certain stuff. Oh, you don't know I serve God. I don't do that. Oh, that's nice. That's cool. Thank you for telling me. They go about their business. Because most people don't care. They don't want to hear anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're just doing what they feel like is, what's the word I'm looking for? Culturally polite. That's what people do. They're doing what they think is culturally polite. Make that Genesis 32 and 24. Jacob was left alone, and there he wrestled with a man until the breaking of the day. So, of course, let's look at the word for wrestle. White boys killing each other at the skateboard park. Ain't that something? News for Jacks, don't miss a beat on the doggone notifications. You understand me? Don't miss a beat. Now, the word wrestle here is a bach. Of course, it's to wrestle or to grapple or to get dusty or to be dust. So listen to that. Get dusty, be dust. Now you have Aleph, Kuf, and Ba. And I said it out of order, but it's Aleph, Ba, and Kuf. So when we sit back and we look at the final strength of the sun. Now we have to look at the first weakness, which y'all already know. The weakness came in through death because of the disobedience of one man. So because death came in by one man, then life has to come in by one man. So when we turn around and we look at he's wrestle or he's be dusting, let's go over here to Hebrews chapter 2. And remember, the desire that accomplished is sweet to the soul. What was Yahushua's desire? It was to lay his life down for the people. Yahushua already knew that his war that he didn't wrestle against flesh and blood. That's why you didn't see him waste his time fighting and arguing with no Romans and all these other people who were doing it, because that didn't matter. That was irrelevant. He said that he came that you might have life and that you might have it in abundance. Because he said the thief come to steal, kill, and destroy. He already knowing who he coming to fight. When John 16, this man made a statement that the prince of this world is judged. He already know who he coming to fight. See, but we don't be concerned with that because we want to fight men. I ain't worried about no man. What can a man do to me? Ain't nothing a man can do to now one of us that we should even be concerned with it. Oh, they could kill us. Well, you're going to die anyway, my friend. You're going to die anyway. So what? You know what I'm talking about? Why is it even in your mind that how blessed a thing it would be if you were counted worthy to suffer for the gospel's sake? That don't even enter into our mind that if Yahuwah saw fit for you to be killed for the word or beaten or imprisoned for the word, that means your name's written in heaven? Has any of this, that even crossed any of your minds? That's a serious question. And whoever decides to answer, bless your heart. Because I done thought about it. I already know that. You know what I'm saying? That if something happens to you for the word's sake, that means this man know you and he saw fit that you could be counted worthy of doing such a thing. But see, that's not considered to be a worthy and honorable thing in this time, because you're going to be considered to be weak, because the individuals don't understand the plan and will of Yahuwah. When Zechariah got stoned, he was counted worthy for the word. He suffered for the word's sake. All he did was stand up and say what Yahuwah told him to say, and he suffered for that. He suffered for that. We don't consider that to be worthy and honorable, and that your name is written in heaven. This is why Yahushua told you that if you be persecuted and men separate yourselves from their company for my name's sake, and your name get cast as evil, and you persecuted, to rejoice, because your name's written in heaven. These niggas thinking somebody persecuting them because they don't agree with their doctrine. Nigga, you ain't talking about nothing. Ain't nobody persecuting you. You ain't talking about nothing. Persecute you for what? For what? Oh, have you thought about in regards to being found that it's a worthy thing to literally suffer for the gospel's sake? It's a beautiful thing. Hebrews chapter 2. I'll take verse 12. I'll take verse 11. He said, for both he that sanctified and they who are sanctified all are of one word, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren, saying, I will declare your name unto my brethren. In the midst of the synagogue will I sing praise unto you. And again, I will put my trust in him. And again, behold, I and the children which Elohim have given me. Oh, you're going to have to wait about that. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he himself also likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power over death, that is the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. Now, how did Yahushua able to wrestle with this man until the daybreak, or grapple, or to be dust, or to show you the strength of the last Adam? Well, let's see how. 1 Corinthians 15, because this was his desire. Yahushua's desire was to die and resurrect from the dead. When that was accomplished, that was sweet to him. That was a pleasant thing. Remember, he said it behooved Mashiach to suffer and to rise the third day. That was pleasant for him. Now, we didn't even read the verse in Hebrews 2 where it made sense that it behooved him to be made light unto his brethren. This man desired to suffer. This man desired to die. That was his desire. As he just put up there, take up your stake and follow him. Yahushua desired to be hung from that tree. Do you desire to be hung from that tree? Meaning, do you desire to be immersed in his death and to be raised out of that water in the likeness of his resurrection and live in newness of life? Do you desire the sweetness of receiving the beauty of Kadash, which is the Ruach HaKadosh, and being in covenant with he who you say is your power, your Father, your Elohim, your Redeemer, your God? All right, I appreciate it. I respect that. I respect that. You're a good man. You're a good man. Matter of fact, I'll give him a response. Why is that going on? Oh, either way, go back to Genesis chapter 32. Back to Genesis chapter 32. Oh, I said 1 Corinthians 15. Praise you, Lord. Praise you, Lord. 1 Corinthians 15, real quick. Y'all know what's in 1 Corinthians 15. But, we're going to take a quick look. Slide out the way. 15 and 42. Make it quick, make it brief, slide out the way. He says, so also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening ruach. Howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and after that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy, and the second man is the Lord from heaven. So what do we take from that? When we look at the Avar, or the Aleph, Bat, and Kuf, what is the strength of the last Adam? Well, the strength is his faith. And the Ruach, that's what gave him strength. That's what strengthens us all. Because it's that Ruach, when he said, it's the words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life. If you believe those words, then you can prosper, because then you have the Salah, the Sa'ad, the Lamad, and the Kad. The teachings of the way will separate you. The teachings of Yahusha will separate you, because he is the way. And we know way, the rock, that's the way to the highest. Yahusha is the way to the highest. He covers sins, because his blood was shed for the remission of your sins. So when that desire is accomplished, that's going to be sweet. See, we don't even want to deal with it's an abomination for fools to depart from evil, because we already know this. We already know this. But if we need to focus on what is our desire, if you in this word, and when I say in this word, in Yahusha, you say you are serving the Yahusha. I believe almost everyone on this screen has been immersed in the name of Yahusha. So if you say that this is what you in, then what is your desire? What are you desiring? Are you desiring everlasting life? Are you desiring an eternal kingdom? Are you desiring to dwell with the living Elohim? Do you desire to rejoice at his presence? Do you desire to sing praises to his name? Do you desire to bow down with your head to the ground and worship him? Do you desire to be in his presence? Do you desire to dwell in his light? Do the things that he delights in, is it delightful to you? Because if you don't answer yes sincerely from the heart, and all of those things that were just asked, how do you sincerely expect to be quickened on the day of judgment? How do you expect for that to occur? Now, I haven't said this in a long time, but I said it earlier. Like, you tell people, no, yes, there's a penalty. There's a condemnation for disobedience. You will go to hell. But there has to be a love that develops for this man. That we're going to hell is no longer a fact. You don't even think about that. Now your mind shifts to, I do not want to disappoint my Father. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to disappoint my Father. So I wouldn't dare do this, because I don't want to dishonor him. Because I'm more concerned that his name is always honored and respected because of me, and never reproached because of me. Like, your mindset has to shift. Then we won't start being concerned and worried about the wrong things. See, worrying about a bunch of Gentiles celebrating Halloween, that's none of your concern. You think they would walk around Jericho? These people worshiping Dagon. You think when the Philistines was next door, they would worry about them people serving Dagon? You thought they cared? Yahuwah just didn't want you to fool with it, because he know you gonna start fooling with them. You gonna start doing it. So leave them people alone. See, I done told you before. See, people done took the word of Yahuwah and use it as a weapon. Then some people feel like you're using it as a weapon because you speak out against what is wrong. Because people don't like that. But you have to speak out against what. That's why he said reprove and rebuke. So you have to correct. You have to state what's wrong. If it's wrong, it's wrong. You got these grown men out here talking about they need to take a women's sign off a tampon pack. Grown men. I seen a mean dude say he free bleeding. He a trans man. You're not a man, you're a woman. That's why you're bleeding in between your legs. I ain't never met a man who bleeded between his legs and there wasn't some type of trauma to his genital region. Just bleeding for the sake of bleeding? Ma'am, that means you're a woman. You are a woman. You understand? But see, nobody want to have that conversation because you don't want to offend people. Now, I'm talking about people in the world. Now, just imagine people in the word and the type of time they on. I seen a dude the other day, and I had to tell, I didn't even get that deep. This nigga said, why Yahusha ain't get married and had no kids when the first commandment was to be fruitful and multiply. I'm like, first and foremost, that was a commandment given to Adam. This man never said that it was a commandment for anybody to go out and have a bunch of children, considering that it's not even in your power to have any children, because Yahuwah open and closes wombs as he pleases, first and foremost. You know what I'm talking about? So if you in Yahuwah and he opened up that womb and blessed you with children, well, blessed be you. That means Yahuwah's face is shining upon you. Period. Period. I'm talking about if it's done in the correct way. Period. Blessed, beautiful thing. Ought to rejoice. So then I told this nigga, I say, brother, if you had understanding, then you would already know that he is married. He married Yasharal, and that he did have children. That's the sons and daughters of the living Elohim. And he's multiplied more times than you will ever be able to count. But since you niggas so carnal, you missed that. He's the last Adam, so why wouldn't he be fruitful and multiply, you clown? Because you say, and the reason why I say clown, because he made the post to be controversial and to debate and to argue. So in a situation like that, you don't do that. You just make a simple and plain statement. If you have understanding, you would know this. This is nothing to discuss. But since the gospel is not preached, this is why people discuss these things. Because they don't know that this man is married. And they don't know that he is multiplied. If any of you have the Ruach HaKodesh dwelling in you, then in reality, that seed has multiplied. Because you would be his offspring. And if you his offspring, he has been fruitful and multiplied. And he began the multiplication the minute he resurrected from the dead. And that multiplication began to expand the minute he breathed his Ruach on his apostles. And then his apostles began to preach the gospel. And then individuals began to believe. And they repented and were baptized in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And the Ruach HaKodesh came down upon them. Therefore, he has been fruitful and multiplied. Very simple thing to understand. Nothing difficult. Very, very simple concept. And at the end of the day, that was his desire. To multiply the sons of the living Elohim, which would bring esteem and honor to the Most High Yah. Period. And I'm finishing 1 Corinthians 15. So let us go back to Genesis 32. Swipe too fast. I hope that made sense with him wrestling with a man to the day. Word. I feel you on that. And the key thing is, you have to focus on changing over. What you would call transition in the Hebrew language would be the word, if y'all remember, it'd be shu, to convert or to return, to reverse course. You know what I'm saying? That's Shah, U, and Bat, if you remember. You know what I'm saying? Being paired and secured unto the son or unto the house. So we have to convert. We have to be born again. And most people have to realize something, right? Like I mentioned the other day. Most of us lived in sin our whole lives. Our parents lived in sins their whole lives. And we talking about sins, we talking about rebellion and transgression. And most of them were in rebellion and transgression and ignorance because they didn't know. You know, we were all fed lies. You know what I'm saying? And also, that's where the devil come in with his trickery and deceit at as well, because he know that it's a whole bunch of lies out here. So we feel like we have to constantly keep digging and digging. I didn't say that was a verse. That's just known. You know what I'm saying? You know that from the story of Leah and Rachel. He closed up Rachel's womb. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Yahuwah opens and closes wombs at his will. He can make the barren woman keep house, as it says in the law, if that's his prerogative, and he can close up a woman's womb and she don't have nary child. You know what I'm saying? You can have all the sex you want to have, but if he don't want you to have a baby, you ain't having one. And if he wants you to have one, ain't a force on earth that can stop you. But he do tell you in Psalms that children, the fruit of the womb, is a blessing from Yahuwah, and blessed be the man who have a quiver full of it. You know, that's a blessed thing. That's you. See the things, but we ain't taught and told that. You know, that's Yahuwah's face shine down on you with certain things. But I've told y'all in the past, we look at Yahuwah's blessings as burdens. So why would he keep blessing you if you feel like what his increase is burdensome? You don't realize the more churn he give you, that means that's more opportunity for your name to stay in the earth. Especially if he give you sons, that means your name stay in the earth. He don't give you no kids, that means your name gonna be wiped out from under heaven. Why would you want that? But we don't even think in that fashion. That's how backwards we have become, and how ungrateful and unappreciative and selfish that we are as people. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been taught wrong. We've been told wrong. Been told to value the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know how women feel about it because it might be a little different. But for a man don't want his name wiped out from under heaven. He want to know that his lineage can carry on. That 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations down the line, his name is still in the earth. That's one of the things we'll say, to wipe out the name of Israel, that it be in no more in remembrance, to get you out of the earth that you're no longer remembered. A man doesn't want his line to be cut off. Y'all think men just want sons just for the sake of having sons. He has a son, his name can continue. A name can't continue with a daughter because she's going to take on the name of her husband. So that man's line can't continue because she's receiving seed from another man. So how can his name continue in a girl? That's why in antiquity, women felt like they were failures as a spouse if they didn't give their husband a son. But see, now y'all been taught, and see, you should be happy you give your husband son. That means you are trying to keep that man's name in the earth. Because the more sons you got, the more opportunities he has to reproduce, which you who are willing to produce more sons. But that's another conversation for another time. Verse 25 in Genesis chapter 32. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. If y'all recall, the word for prevail is Jacob. I'm trying to remember, it's a different word. Now the hollow is kaf. Y'all know that what that is? The out of joint. It was a different word. Is that what it is? When you got out of joint in that verse, the word is Jacob. You have Yad, Kuf, and Ayin. It means to be dislocated, also to be alienated or torn away, or to execute slowly by being impaled or to be hung. Now, that is ironic. So we see that Yahusha, the last Yahushua, you know what I'm saying, to experience the final Adam. To look back and you look at it, the last Adam. So again, take you again to take up your stake and follow him. And I just want you to take a trip to 2 Samuel chapter 21. Let's just take a trip to 2 Samuel 21. That's why you have to sit back and consider, why you think Yahuwah sent his only begotten son? I got to keep that name of Yasharal in the earth, because if I don't, I got to wipe it out. It won't be no longer remembered. Let me get my son down here, man. Take that name on, keep that name going. Keep that seed in the earth. But see, that goes past people's ability to have rational comprehension of things in heaven. That's why people don't like to have conversations about things that are in heaven. They rather keep it carnal. It's an easy conversation to have. Really just a sign of a simpleton the whole time. 2 Samuel chapter 21. Oh, I didn't mention a verse. My apologies. I guess we can use verse 1. It's 10:22. We got time. He said, there was a famine in the days of David 3 years. Year after year, David inquired of Yahuwah. Yahuwah answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. Does anybody on here know who the Gibeonites are? And if you know who they are, why are they significant? Who on here knows who the Gibeonites are and their significance? And I'm going to wait till somebody answers, just so you know. And y'all knows I got all night. It ain't nothing we went over recently, but you should know this. Don't nobody on here know who the Gibeonites are and their significance? Nobody? Don't send me home disappointed. This man said he is a life extension specialist. Not the 300 warriors that, no, that's with Gideon. And it's not, yes, that's what it is. But what is their significance? That doesn't tell me who they are. You tell me where they're located, but who are they and their significance? What did they do? Why are they significant? Why is the fact that Saul's house has to be slew because he slew Gibeonites? Who can answer that question? Who are they? Why are they significant? Why does Saul's house have to be slain? Yes, they are the people who came unto Yahushua son of Nun, tried to act like they traveled a long distance with moldy bread and ratted clothes. You know what I'm saying? And they made a covenant that they would not slay these people. And then they found out that they were close neighbors. So they were made to be drawers of wood. Hewers of wood and drawers of water, and to always dwell in the land of Yasharal forever. Therefore, no one can lay their hands on him by reason of this covenant. So because Saul slew these people, he broke the covenant of Yahuwah. Yahuwah is not with that. Let's continue. The king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Yasharal, but of the remnant of the Amorites. Were they faithful? You can see, you know what I mean? You can say that because they did do what they were supposed to do after that covenant was made. Matter of fact, we can read about that covenant for those who aren't familiar. Yahushua son of Nun. Because I see not too many people are familiar, so it would be best for us to just go look at it. In chapter 9, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. It came to pass when all the kings were on this side of Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys, and all the coasts of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard thereof. Keep this in mind. They heard about Yahuwah and what was going on. They gathered themselves together to fight with Yahushua and with Yasharal with one accord. It's the same thing. If you know we went in the past, this takes you back to the beast. That they're all going to gather themselves as one to try to keep the land away from the rightful owner of the land. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Yahushua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, they did work wildly. So they used deceit. They used cunning. Let's look at the Hebrew word there to be very concise, clear, and accurate. You know, praise be to Yahuwah for the word. Praise be to Yahuwah for understanding. Because the one thing that we have to sit back and look at is, without understanding, we dead men walking. Because we wouldn't have any insight on what we ought to do and what we shouldn't do. The word for wily here is omar, and it's craftiness and prudence. That's what its definition is. And when it made as if they had been ambassadors and took old sacks upon their asses and wine bottles, old rent and bound up, old shoes clouded upon their feet, old garments upon them, and the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Yahushua unto the camp Gilgal and said unto him, to the men of Yasharal, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make you a league with us. And the men of Yasharal said unto the Hivites, peradventure you dwell among us, how shall we make a league with you? And they said unto Yahushua, we are your servants. Yahushua said unto them, who are you and from whence come you? They said unto him, from a very far country your servants have come, because of the name of Yahuwah your Elohim, for we've heard the fame of him and all that he did in Mizraim, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan, to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashtaroth. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants, therefore now make you a league with us. This our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you, but now it is dry and it is moldy. These bottles of wine which were filled were new, and behold, they be rent. These our garments and shoes are become old by reason of the very long journey. And the men took of their victuals and act not at the counsel of the mouth of Yahuwah. And that's what a lot of people problem is. Somebody come with you with a nice little story, this, that, and the third, and you don't ask for the advice, counsel, and purpose of Yahuwah. You go off your own brain. Because if they would have asked of Yahuwah, he would have told them, oh, they lying. Oh, they lying. But see, we don't do that. See, we like to go off on, and that is a recipe for disaster. Yahushua made shalom with them and made a league with them to let them live, and the princes of the congregation swear unto them. And it came to pass at the end of 3 days that they had made a league with them, and they heard that they were their neighbors, and they dwelt among them. And then, of course, they went to tell them, hey, I'll just let you hear it. And the children of Yasharal journeyed and came unto the cities on the third day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Kepharath, Beroth, and Kiriath-Jearim. The children of Yasharal smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, and all the congregation murmured against the princes. So now the people selling out, which makes Yahuwah look bad. But the princes said unto all the congregation, we have sworn unto them by Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal. Now therefore we may not touch them. This we will do to them. We will let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath which we swear unto them. And the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water under all the congregation as the princes had promised them. And Yahushua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore you have beguiled us, saying, we are very far from you when you dwell among us. Now therefore you are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my Elohim. So for their lies, they still got, they called something, remember? You don't get away guilty, but they didn't care. We don't get killed. So for us to be hewers of wood and drawers of water is the least of our concern. But can't nobody of the house of Yasharal touch it. And you don't think Saul them were taught that? You don't think he didn't know that? He knew, but he did what he wanted to do. Come on back to 2 Samuel chapter 21. That's what our problem be. We do what we want to do. We know what the words say. But I know how I'm feeling right now, what I want to do, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, after the point of that covenant being made, Trina, yes, you could say that they were faithful. They did their job, and they did not deviate, because you don't read anything negative about them. We in verse 3. Well, verse 2. And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Yasharal, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Yasharal had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Yasharal and Yehudah. Just like a cornball nigga. Let me do something I know I shouldn't do to impress people. See, and what he was doing, not only the things that Saul did also shows his lack of belief in Yahuwah, but it also shows that clearly there was something going on inside of him where he was void, that he needed the acceptance of men, the accolades of men. You know what I'm saying? And you see that all the time. That's why I was telling y'all about that the other day. Like women, they like attention. Men don't like attention in that fashion. They want attention from their woman. If that's what they own. Some men don't necessarily need a lot of attention from their women, from their woman. You know what I'm saying? But most men, I want my woman to pay attention to me. I don't need a whole, because I'm gonna be honest with you. The average dude know if he got sense. If he got sense that if a woman telling you handsome, you this, that, there, and the third, that woman don't like you, bro. That woman sees something there's an opportunity for her. She doesn't like you for you. She doesn't care about you. She cares about what she can get from you. You know what I'm talking about? So you have to be wise enough to know that. If you's an old lame nigga who think, yeah, boy, she think I'm handsome, bro. She like my personality. You's a fool. You know what I'm talking about? Because if that woman feel like, oh, this nigga got that nigga got this, that's what she in your face for. You know what I'm saying? If y'all remember that, we mentioned that when Steph Curry's wife was like, nobody don't hit on me. Of course ain't nobody gonna hit on you. You're not worth over $100 million. You would think Steph Curry would have enough sense to know. Don't nobody want to talk to you because you handsome, cuz. They want to talk to you because you got $100 million. Because if you were Stephen Curry who just played ball at the rec center, wouldn't no woman be in your face. You know what I'm saying? And then know this, if they got sense, that woman, That woman's not in your face because she like you, bro. She feel like you'll take care of her. You know what I'm saying? She'll feel like you'll do this and you'll do that. You know what I'm saying? In my honest opinion, it's only 1 or 2% of women who actually fool with the dude who they with. Because on average, the average woman is looking for the next opportunity. You know what I'm saying? A better option than the dude that she's with. And once she sees a better option, she's out. And most women don't slide until they find a better option. They'll stay right on over there in that situation. Now, again, I didn't say all women. I said the average woman. I would hope no woman in the world think like this, but I know women in the world do. You know what I'm talking about? Like I had told y'all before, last week, when me and my homeboy in the line, holla at them. They not pulling up on us because they think we good looking, nigga. They walking up on us because we sitting in this Cadillac. If we were sitting in a bucket, they would have walked right past. You know what I'm saying? And you have to know that as a man. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why you take your time with a woman and see why she really want to fool with you. Because more women are looking, they hypergamous. So they're looking for someone to take care of them. And understandably so, because that's how things are set up. But of course, as we talked about last week, it was different back then. Your daddy gave you to this dude. So he wasn't finna give you to somebody who wasn't going to care for you in the proper fashion. That's not saying that a man ain't supposed to take care of no woman. Don't be no fool. Don't be no fool. You know what I'm saying? Don't be believing all this nonsense, man. Make sure you know that woman rock with you. You know what I'm saying? You have to know she rock with you. Because a lot of women, they don't fool with you. They only fool with you for what you can do for them. And once you can't do that for them no more, they out. That's why you see dudes, that's why a lot of dudes don't want to get married and who in the world. Because they feel like there's no value or benefit in it for me. Because she could cheat on me and leave me and take me for everything I got, and I get blamed for her cheating on me. And I got to pay alimony, child support, and she take half of everything I got. So dudes look at it as there's nothing in it for them. So you have to make sure that woman is of value and that she's worth being cared for. And there are women out here, but you already know what the words say. She's rare. That strong woman, she's rare. The word of Yahuwah say that type of woman is like rubies. Who can find her? So as we stated before, if that's the case, and you got all these women talking about they Proverbs 31 women and they good women, according to whose standard? Who said you were? Because if Yahuwah say that these women are rare, and matter of fact, that was a woman who was prophesying this here, because that was a King Lemuel's mama who told him this. If a woman is telling him that a strong woman, a virtuous woman, is rare as a ruby, then who are we to say that they are in abundance? If Solomon himself said he sought for a man and all he found was one, and as Solomon also stated in another place, he said every man declare his goodness, but a faithful man who can find, then who is all these men out here saying that I'm righteous and I'm upright and I'm just? If Solomon said I only found one. I only found one. That means somebody lying. Somebody's capping, or they're judging it according to their own standard. Nevertheless, verse 3, he said, wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you, and wherewith shall I make the atonement, that you may beroot the inheritance of Yahuwah? If you remember, that's kafar, for atonement, reconciliation. And the Gibeonites said unto him, we will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house, neither for us shall you kill any man of Yasharal. And he said, what shall you say that will I do for you? So when he say no silver or gold, I should take you back to what Peter said. You were not redeemed from the vain tradition of your fathers with silver and gold. The same thing you sold yourselves for not, you shall be redeemed without money. They say to make the reconciliation, I don't want no money. So in that instance, in this particular passage, on the spiritual side, and I don't even want to say on the spiritual side, on the gospel side, the Gibeonites are representative of Elohim. That they don't want silver and gold to make the reconciliation for the sin, to make us whole again, to take away the plague. I need blood, and I need blood of sons, because that's what we're going to see. And they answered the king, and notice that he said that nobody of Yasharal should be slain. I want the sons. Don't slay the people. We're going to slay the son of the king to make this reconciliation. So just letting you know, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. And we know Saul was working spiritual wickedness in the principality of which he ruled over. Nevertheless, they answered the king, the man that consumed us and devised against us, that we should be destroyed from remaining in any of the coast of Yasharal, let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto Yahuwah in Gibeah of Saul, whom Yahuwah did choose. And the king said, I will give them. But the king spared Meshaboth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of Yahuwah's oath that was between them, between David, Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, whom she bare unto Saul, Armani and Meshaboth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Melethite. And if you don't know who, what her name is, Mashal is, that's the woman who mocked David when he was dancing and said that he made himself look like a base man. That's who that is. He delivered them into the hand of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before Yahuwah, and they all fell all 7 together and were put to death in the days of the harvest and the first days in the beginning of the barley harvest. Now, we went over this chapter before in regards to the gospel. Notice that they were hung up and put to death in the days of the harvest, hung up on a hill, same way when Yahushua was taken up on a hill and hung up in the beginning of the barley harvest, which is his Passover. This is when they were hung. All of this is pointing to this reconciliation or the desire of Yahushua. Let's look at John 13 real quick. And then we'll go back to Genesis 32. And I need to mention some of them words in that chapter. But we got time, though. We got time. Praise you, Lord. Now, we just have to be aware of the reality of things that we face and the reality of the world, and not see the world idealistically. Because I told y'all before, I am pragmatic. I am a pragmatist. A pragmatist is to be realistic. I have to see things for what they are and not for what I want them to be. Because if I see things for how I want them to be, that means I'm lying to myself. I'm deceiving myself. You have to be the biggest fool in the world to lie to yourself. It's one thing if someone else deceives you, but you shouldn't deceive yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't, things are what they are. No matter if it's harsh or if it's nice or if it's in the middle, things are what they are. Then you have to be able to move according to what things are and not how you want them to be or how you wish they were or how you thought they were. Things are what they are. Reality is reality. You know what I'm saying? The nature of man is the nature of man. The nature of woman is the nature of woman. Deceiving yourself and not believing that's what it is not going to change it. It's still what it is. And you're setting yourself up for destruction and heartache and sadness because you don't want to deal with reality. And that's why we live in a land, at least in America, where they offer so many things to distract you from reality. And it could be anything from sports to movies to drugs to alcohol to whatever you want to come up with, television, clubs, theme parks, whatever the case may be. Not to say that you can't say, I do this for enjoyment or entertainment or leisure, but you'll be surprised. A lot of people fool with certain things to escape reality. I don't want, and as a grown adult, you have to ask yourself, why are you trying to escape reality? Because that is the mind of a child. Children like to drift off into fantasy world. Adults should be able to stand and look reality in the face, accept the circumstances and situations that are before them, and put together and concoct a plan to be able to navigate the pitfalls and pratfalls of life that are sure to spring up because life is unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen from day to day. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just that's just the reality of life. You don't know what's going to happen from day to day. Life is unpredictable. People like to make you see, you get fallen into that because days seem to become routine and over again. So you seem like you can predict what can happen. But in reality, we cannot. Life is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So you have to accept things for what they are, see things for what they are, and move accordingly. Don't lie to yourself, because I'm trying to tell you, you start lying to yourself, you're going to have bigger problems. John 13:1. Now, therefore, before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto Abba, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil now putting into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Yahushua, knowing that Abba had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from Elohim and went to Elohim. So notice, he said he know that his time has come. And this is his desire. If you recall, when he was talking to Peter and he had to tell Peter, get behind me, Satan, because you savor the things that be a man and not a Elohim, because Yahushua's desire was to lay his life down. Remember, he said, I lay my life down of myself, and I pick it up of myself. No man take my life from me, because I lay it down. So when he accomplished what it is that he desired to do, that was a pleasant thing to him. And we were looking at, as you swore as Jacob wrestling with that angel, it's symbolic of Yahushua wrestling with the adversary. That's why he said destroyed him who had power over death. That is the devil. Let's go back to Genesis 32 and wrap all that up. I don't want verse 4. Maybe another day. So remember, when you look at it as the thigh being out of joint, it's being alienated or hung. So you look at it, Jacob is being hung, because when it says for the hollow of the thigh, it has the calf there. So you know that's the hollow of the hand, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I get them. Well, of course, you know that for the character, but I think the definition here might be a little different. But let's just make sure. But the palm, the hand, the sole, the palm of the hand, the hollow, or the flat of the hand. So it had the right, or the sole of the feet, or power. So you sit back and say the hollow of the thigh, or the hollow of his hand. And in regards to that hollow of that thigh was out of joint, or that hollow or that hand was alienated or hung as he wrestled. Because he's wrestling with death while he's on the stage. See, let's look at something. Luke chapter 22. Let's look at him wrestling before he even get up there. And again, this is his desire. And let's get the Hebrew word for desire out of that verse in Proverbs 13 and 19, if my memory serves me adroitly, that's what it was. That word is ta'ava. It's your desire or the longing of one's heart. The thing desire or the object of desire. Tau, aleph, u, and hey. So we see how the strength of Yahushua secures the covenant. What is the strength of Yahushua, his desire? It is his faith. He was seeking that desire what? To secure what covenant? To get that Ruach HaKadosh for you. Because he said the Ruach couldn't come unless he departed. He couldn't depart unless he was hung. So we have to look at it in that fashion. He knowing full well that his strength or the strength of Yahushua or the faith of Yahushua secured this covenant. This is his desire. This is why it is so important for him to fulfill it. This is why it has to be important for us to take up our stake and follow him daily so we can fulfill it, because his desire should be our desire. That was the longing of his heart, which was to die for the people. It should be the longing of your heart to die and live to him. Because if it's the desire of your heart, then it's nothing. See, the book tell you like this here, right? You say, if you love 1 John 5 and 3, this is the love of Elohim, keep his commandments. His commandments are not grievous. So that means nothing that Yahuwah is asking you to do is burdensome and grievous to your heart. The stuff only becomes burdensome and grievous to your heart for one reason and one reason alone, because you don't want to do it. It's not the desire of your heart. You don't long for it. So because you don't long for it, I got to do this, I got to do that. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like it doesn't bring joy to your heart that you have the opportunity to do it. See, we don't even sit back and look at it as you have the opportunity to serve Yahuwah. Now think about all the people who don't have that opportunity. And I ain't even talking about the people who live in. I'm talking about the people who are in the grave. There's no repentance in the grave. You can't praise Yahuwah in the grave. They don't have that opportunity to delight in their heart to serve the living Elohim with all their might and all their strength and all their soul. Now, adjust that back and think about the people who are living who don't have that opportunity. And we begrudgingly serve the author of eternal salvation. And he's the one who decided to offer you the chance to serve him. It's not like you went and knocked down his door and say, let me serve you. He came and found you and called you and say, come serve me. Gave you an opportunity to save yourself. And then you mad because you got an opportunity to eternal life. That sounds like a jackass to me. You know what I'm saying? A cretin, an imbecile, an idiot. You know what I'm talking about? A pure, unadulterated simpleton. Because you have the opportunity of everlasting life, a gift so precious that is not extended unto many. Do you understand how honorable that is? Do you understand how valuable that is? Do you understand how precious that is? Do you understand the mercy and love that Yahuwah saw fit to all the people on the earth? He decided to call you. Of all the people in your family, he decided to call you. Of all your friends, he decided to call you. Not them. No, you understand that he could have left you in that state and called somebody in your family, somebody else in your family instead, and left you in the state that you were in. And you could be out here just dilly-dallying around, gallivanting the streets, acting like a pure D fool and all manner of shenanigans. Nevertheless, Luke chapter 22. What verse would I desire? I don't know what verse I desire. I pick it up at 20. Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying, this is the cup of the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. But behold, the hand of him that betrayed me is with me on the table. Truly the Son of Man go as it was determined, but woe unto that man by whom he is betrayed. It was already determined of the Son of Man to go this way, and he delighted to go. We'll drop down because we don't need to hear them arguing amongst themselves about who is greater. Verse 28. Even though that's an inkling to him telling them, we'll read verse 27. Well, verse 26. But he say, but you shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief, as he that do serve. For whether is greater, he that sit at meat or he that serve? It's not he that sit at meat, but I'm among you as he that serve. You are they which could have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father have appointed unto me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on the thrones judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. So we sit down and look at Yahushua, and he's telling them what his desire is. He said, I'm one that sit amongst you that serve. My Father has appointed me a kingdom. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to serve you. And he's trying to give them an inkling to understand of what they ought to do. Because that's what his desire. His desire was to complete his service. And his service was to be hung, to make reconciliation. So the plague could be removed off the people, like we were seeing in 2 Samuel 21. Once that plague is removed up amongst the people, then the people can be at rest. And the curse can be removed. Because the adversary has sought to wipe out the children of Yasharal name from off the face of the earth, not through no Edomites or this, that, there, and the third, but through sin and through deceit and through trickery and through pride and through lust. All these things that he uses. That's why you got to take your stand and put on the full armor Elohim so that you can endure all those tricks and deceits. Because then when you see the tricks and deceits, then you can resist the adversary and he will depart. But if you don't know the tricks and deceits, because you don't know your Father to be able to recognize a lie, then you know he gonna get you. He gonna get you. come back over here to Proverbs 13 real fast. I want to get this word for accomplished. And then we'll finish Genesis 32. I just want to get this word for accomplished. The word for accomplished is hayah. And it is something that is to exist or be into existence, to remain, to continue, to stand, to occur, to come to pass, to be done, or to be finished. And it is hey, yod, and hey. So all it is that behold the work of Yahushua when that is accomplished. I think I want to go to Psalms 21, if I'm not mistaken. That's Psalms 21. It's Psalms 31. Psalms 31, I believe. Of course, y'all should know that these are the words that Yahushua stated when he was hung upon that tree. I think it's Psalms 31. And it is. Psalms 31 and 1. So it's to be finished. So it's his desire. Yahushua said, as a matter of fact, before we read Psalms 31, go to John 17. Just for a couple words out the master's mouth. 17 and 3. John 17 and 3. And this is life eternal, that they might know you, the only true Elohim, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom you have sent. I have esteemed you on the earth, and I have finished the work which you gave me to do. And now, O Abba, esteem you me with your own self, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. I have manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. Thine they were, and you gave them me, and they have kept your word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever you have given me are of you. For I've given unto them the words which you gave me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I come out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. That takes us back to what we read in Hebrews 2 earlier about I declare your name in the midst of the congregation, and I put my trust in you, I and the children which you have given me. And notice that the key thing is he said he's given the word. He's finished the work that he came to do. Remember, he said, if I had not spoken, then they would have not had sin. If I wouldn't have came and did the works that no other man did, they would not have sin. We talked about that Wednesday. He said, now they both hate me and my Father. He had to come and to fulfill the book. He had to come and fulfill the book in regards to the reconciliation, to be able to make you whole with your Elohim. You know, we talked about that during atonement, being made one back with your husband. Nevertheless, we could go back to Psalms 31 now, because this is what it is to finish, it's to end, it's to accomplish. So what did he finish and end to accomplish? That was his desire. His desire was to lay his life down. He said, greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. And we read earlier in Chronicles, I said how you promised this to Abraham, your friend. How is one called a friend of Elohim? Because they believe and trust in Elohim. You can't become a friend of Elohim and you don't trust in Elohim. Remember, Abraham was called righteous because he believed in Yahuwah. Psalms 31 and 1. In you, O Yahuwah, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed, and deliver me in your righteousness. So again, I just mentioned that with righteousness, delivering you in your righteousness is in Yahuwah's righteousness is be delivered by Yahushua, which is to be delivered by your faith. That's the only way that you can be saved, because he said you're saved by grace and not by works, lest any man should boast. He said, bow down your ear to me and deliver me speedily. Be you my strong rock for a house of defense to save me. For you are my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Now look at what he said. For your name's sake, for the name of Yahuwah, lead and guide me. Lead and guide me for the name's sake of Yahuwah. I just want the word for lead and guide. That's all I'm coming here for. So for the name of, so are you being led by the name of Yahuwah? When we look at lead me here, it is Nakah, lead, guide, quotes the definition, be easy, noon, Kot, and hey. Yahusha, separate unto life eternal. Yahusha, separate the seed. So you can't be separated unless you allow the name, because he said, you'll be hated by all people for my name's sake. God is Nahal, which is to lead, to give rest, to lead with care, to guide to a watering place or station or cause to rest. Now that's a little different. That's Nun, Hay, and Lamad. So guess what? Yahusha teaches eternal life, because that's why he guided you to the watering hole. And we could read in Isaiah 49, which is mentioned in Revelation, how he say that those who walk with him, he'll lead them to a place of living water. Matter of fact, let's just look at it. Let's just look at it. Isaiah 49. We read it out the prophecy of it. No, it's mentioned in Revelation in chapter 7, if my memory serves me correctly. Isaiah 49 and 8. It says, thus saith Yahuwah, in acceptable time have I heard you, and in the day of salvation have I helped you. Now remember, Yahushua was on a tree crying out, my Elohim, why have you forsaken me? And we talked about this the other day. He said Yahushua was heard and that he feared. So he heard him in an acceptable time, in the day of salvation. That day of salvation is when he resurrected him from the dead. That's when the entire desire is accomplished. That's why it was sweet to him. We'll deal with that in a moment. He said, and I will preserve you and give you for a covenant of the people to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritages. When you look at, remember, heritage here is inheritance. What is desolate? Jerusalem is desolate. What did he say he would do with Jerusalem but make it like the Garden of Eden? He said, I'll give you for a covenant of the people, which goes back to why we have to have the Ruach, because the Ruach is the covenant. Yahusha is the covenant. That's why I say this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. And in order to get them sins remitted, that Torah got to be in your mind and in your heart. If that Torah is not in your mind and in your heart, your sins are not remitted. Your sins are not remitted until you are immersed and receive the Ruach HaKodesh. Until that time, you still in them. He said that you may say to the prisoners, go forth, and to say to them that are in darkness, show yourselves. They shall feed in the ways, and their pasture shall be in all high places. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that have mercy on them shall lead them, even by the springs of water shall he guide them. So that part of being guided by him lets you know that means to take you to rest. So for his name's sake, this man is going to teach and guide you to the watering hole, to everlasting salvation. They tell you that in the book of Revelation, that you come to the waters of life, and he tell everybody, come, let's just look at it. Come freely and drink. This is his desire that he wanted. These things that we're looking at that pertain out of his death and resurrection all still pertain to his desire. Because his desire was to give to you eternal life. His desire was to give to you the desolate heritage, or your desolate inheritance that you made desolate. He want to give it back. That's why we got to be glad that Yahuwah is not as a man is. 21:4. Because if Yahuwah was as a man, we'd be scarred. Because men don't have that level of forgiveness, that level of mercy, and that level of love. Men don't have that in them. The only way a man can have that in him is that the word of Yahuwah is in him. Revelation 21:4, and we'll read Revelation 22 on top of it. Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For all former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. He said unto me, it is done. I'm the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. And I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things. I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. He's sitting here letting you know, I'm going to lead you to rest to the watering hole. Revelation 22:16, just on the strength. I, Yahushua, have sent my Malachim to testify unto you these things in the houses. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. And the Ruach and the bride say, come. And let him that hears say, come. And let him that is athirst come. And whosoever will, let him take of the water of life freely. For I testify unto every man that hear the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, Elohim shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. If any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Elohim shall take away his part out of the book of life, out of the Kadesh city, and from the things which are written in this book. He which testified these things say, surely I come quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Lord Yahushua. The grace of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach be with you all. Amen. He said he come quickly now. See, some people like to say he ain't came yet, he ain't coming. Hey, no matter how you feel. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Back to Psalms 31 and 3. We're in 31 and 4, actually. It says, pull me out of the net that they have laid privily for me. You are my strength. And to your hand I commit my ruach. You have redeemed me, O Yahuwah Elohim of truth. Notice he said that's where he committed his hand. Into Yahuwah. This is what Yahushua said on the tree. It's in the book of Luke. He said, Abba, in your hands I commit my spirit. I commit my ruach. We have to have that same mindset, and that into the hands of Elohim we commit our lives. Because that's pretty much what Yahushua said there. That's pretty much what's being said here. You know that Yahuwah is the power of faithfulness. Because that's what it's going to say. Yahuwah Elohim of Aman or Amah, or whichever word is there. You know that he is the Elohim of faithfulness, of reliability. You have to know that, because that's where your strength comes from. And it's Amah. Firmness, faithfulness, reliability, truth, reliableness. You have to know that. Let's finish Genesis 32. So we can go ahead and call it an evening. Thanks be to Yahuwah for the word. Praise him for the gift of Yahushua's life. Because what will we have without this man's life? So we are in verse 26. Of Genesis 33. And he said, let me go for the daybreak. And he said, I will not let you go except you bless me. He said unto me, what is your name? He said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall be called no more Jacob, but Yasharal. For as a prince, you have power with Elohim. Now the word prince here is the word Sarah. And it's someone to contend, to have power, to contend with, to persist, to persevere, to contend. Shan, Raj, and Hay. And all it is that Yahushua pairs you to the highest. That's why you have the ability to persevere. That's why he said, he who is he that overcome the world, but he that believe that Yahushua is the son of Elohim. This is our victory, even our faith. And he said, for a prince you have power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed. So you have to sit back and understand that when you take hold of Yahushua, you have power with Elohim, and you have the ability to overcome. And that's what his desire was. And that's what he was seeking to accomplish. We'll look at that last word, sweet, to end the deal. And Jacob said unto him, tell me, I pray you, your name. And he said, wherefore it is that you ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. Now, the word for preserved here is Natsal, a word that y'all should remember because we've dealt with it a few times, and it means to save. Nun, Sad, Lamad. The way of the shepherd is life. So when you look at that, that's what we're after, to be preserved. And that was the desire of Yahushua wrestling with a man, because he wrestled with death for our sake, and that was his desire. That word for sweet is a rob, a word that y'all may remember. It's ayin, rash, and ba. It means to be pleasant, sweet, be pleasing. So you sit back and how you know the son of the highest. Well, we already sat back and seen where Yahushua said clearly that because he offered himself, that his apostles knew the name of his father. So his desire was for you to know Elohim. That's why he said, if you receive me, you don't receive me, you receive him that sent me. Because with his death and his resurrection, it give us the ability to know the Father. That's why I say no man can come to the Father but by the Son. So his desire was to die. And then his desire was accomplished. And that there was pleasant, because it was pleasant for him and it was pleasant for his Father, because his resurrection allows us access to the Father. Now we have access to a salvation and to actually know Elohim and to dwell with him. So when we understand that and we look at it in that terms, that the desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, then we know that our desire is to, and that's why I started in 2 Timothy chapter 4, and we're going to end with that, that if our desire to accomplish that is sweet to our soul, then we know our desire is to know our Father in heaven, to get to the end of the day. And to get us to that point, we have to know the death, burial, and resurrection of his Son. Then we understand that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. And then when we understand that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, then we begin to look at Jacob wrestling with that angel and the things that came from that. Because it tells you in Hosea chapter 12 that Jacob wrestled with an angel and prevailed. That's how we can look at that. Hosea chapter 12, verse 3. He said, he took his brother by the heel of the womb, and by his strength he had power, Elohim. Yea, he had power over the angel and prevailed. He wept and made supplication unto him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spake with us. Even Yahuwah Elohim of hosts, Yahuwah is his memorial. Therefore turn you to your Elohim, keep mercy and judgment, and wait on your Elohim continually. Notice what it says, let back and look at that. When he prevailed, he wept and made supplication. Same thing you seen Yahushua did. Yahushua hadn't even been hanged up on the tree, but he knew he prevailed before he got up there. He knew he prevailed before he got up there. And he wept and made supplication to his Elohim, because Yahuwah was his memorial, and he kept mercy and judgment, and he waited on Yahuwah always. And that's the thing that we have to sit back and look at and consider. That's all we got to do. Just look back and consider the level of faith that Yahushua exhibited, that his desire was to accomplish for you to know his Father. He said they'll all be taught of Elohim. He said no man come to the Father but by him. He the one got to tell you about this man. Yahushua was taught by the Father directly. None of us can say that. None of us can say that. That's why you got to go through him. Nevertheless, 2 Timothy chapter 4. I don't went long enough. Hallelujah for Yahushua nonetheless. So praise be to Elohim by way of Yahushua. We don't even know. Got enough information for one night. Y'all willing? Let me in verse 5. 2 Timothy 4 and 5. He said, but watch you in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry. For I'm now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. He said, I fought a good fight, I finished my course, and I kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, not to me only, but unto all them that love his appearing. Now notice what it was. Paul said he had accomplished his desire, and it was sweet, because he knew there was a reward of everlasting life waiting for him. So prayerfully, everlasting life is your desire. And once you have accomplished what Yahuwah has you on this earth to do, that will be sweet for you. But nevertheless, hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. Blessings be to the living Elohim by way of the Son. I appreciate everybody for their time. You know, y'all willing, you got some understanding how to play. But you know, if your desire, you know, you have something you desire to accomplish, it'll be sweet once you accomplish it. But you have to be diligent in doing so. That's whether it be natural or whether it be spiritual. Because if you don't have a longing and craving for it, then you're not going to do it. And if you don't delight in accomplishing that according to the longing and craving, then your execution is going to be lackluster and mediocre, because your heart's not going to be in it. Your heart has to be in desiring to accomplish the will of Yahuwah. So I bless everybody out of the house of y'all name of Yahushua. I appreciate everybody's time. Yahuwah willing, we'll be on Park Street on tomorrow. Y'all willing, we'll do it again. You know, continue to stand firm and upright for the real way and word of the living Elohim. Don't let nobody snatch your crown. Let the word continually reign in your hearts. And Yahuwah willing, till the next time, I will bid you adieu.